Yeah, so it's a really good question. And I think the way to think about it is that exercise in general is not all the same, right? We have individuals who do a lot of endurance exercise and those that do more strength training exercise. And there's obviously a mix in the middle. A lot of the studies kind of show that those that do more endurance exercise have a little bit more ECG changes, but also strength exercise also has a different type of ECG changes. And so a lot of it is that when we see a patient in clinic, get a patient referred to us, we see what the kind of phenotype is on the ECG, on the echo, whatever that may be. Then our role is to say, hey, like, what type of exercise have they been doing? How long have they been doing it? What intensity have they been doing it? And based on that, we kind of get a sense of, okay, is this finding that we're seeing, is this kind of concordant with exercise-induced cardiac remodeling, or is it not? And if it's not, then when we look for, is there some type of pathology or diagnosis that we need to be kind of hunting for? Yeah, and so this is still a learning space that we're in, right? The more that we've done studies over the past few decades, we realize we actually don't know as much as we think that we know. The biggest thing right now is that we know there are some findings on the ECG that are completely related to training. And we think a lot of it is there a vagal predominance, there's other things that we can see. And we've actually learned pretty well. There's findings like first degree AV block, sinus bradycardia, early repolarization that are very concordant and physiologic with exercise-induced cardiac remodeling. At the same time, we know there are other kind of features that are not concordant with training and are more concerning for pathology. And in 2017, there was a consensus statement called the International Criteria for ECG Interpretation in Athletes, and that's a really good guiding light to give us a starting point of how we determine, is this something that is training related and doesn't need further workup, or is this not consistent with training that need further evaluation? Yeah, and so it's also a really good question. I think the hardest thing is that there is a degree of overlap. There's these kind of gray zone findings, as we call it. And I think if we see something that looks like it may not be consistent with their exercise history, with the degree of remodeling that we're seeing, that's when you figure out, do we need to do further testing and evaluation? Things like an echocardiogram, CT, cardiac MRI, cardiopulmonary exercise testing, and all these other kind of pieces of information help us figure out, is this consistent with exercise-induced remodeling, or is this truly a cardiomyopathy, a channelopathy, or some other condition that needs appropriate risk stratification and management? Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that at the end of the day, what we're worried about is exercise-induced sudden cardiac death, right? That's kind of the 20,000-foot view of we want to minimize that as best possible. The hard thing is that it's really hard because, as I said earlier, we are still learning so much more, and the more we learn, the more uncertain we become. And so part of it is that screening is there as a tool to help us find those conditions that we know are put people at higher risk. But at the same time, there are individuals, athletes that have sudden cardiac death events while exercising that had normal cardiac evaluations beforehand. And that just kind of tells us the importance of having emergency action plans, AEDs, first responders, CPR in our community and educate our community how to do those things. Because at the end of the day, we want all of our patients, all of our athletes to be healthy, but also want them to be safe.